In my recent pitch for how I would approach The Last of Us Part 3 if I was writing for Naughty Dog, many of you enjoyed it, following it up with a very similar request. Hey guys, I'm Dan, aka Wolf, and today I'll be sharing with you my large working concept to kick off a The Last of Us prequel consisting of things we already know about the history of our beloved characters, in addition to articulating paths I would explore if I was asked to pitch a story for Naughty Dog. More than anything, this is an outline of some movements such a game could follow, while leaving room for plenty of development for later sections of the game. Our experience would begin with an interactive flashback of Joel and Sarah in the backyard of their Texas home. As the player, we would be controlling Joel and kicking around the soccer ball with Sarah, giving her pointers while they make small talk. Joel wouldn't hold back with Sarah, saying that even though he may be old, she's gonna have to work hard if she wants to catch him by surprise, which would flow into him asking her about the intentions of a boy she's been talking to. Sarah would cleverly turn the tables by asking Joel about the intentions of his, quote, pretty lady contractor friend that he was talking to at Uncle Tommy's barbecue. Joel looks uncomfortable and says it's just business, before Sarah surprises him with a swift kick that sends the ball straight into the side of his head. Joel awakens with a snap from this memory or this dream in the backyard of a different home, next to a freshly buried grave, where he has fallen asleep with his arm draped over the mound. Tommy is asleep on the other side of the grave, and Joel tells him to wake up, but they can't stay. The brothers are rapidly thrust into darkness and chaos in the name of survival. Infected runners and packs of desperate survivors are everywhere in the outskirts of the Austin QZ. Scattered Fedra patrols sweep the area with standing orders to shoot any humans on sight. Joel and Tommy try to survive by attempting to carefully make their way out of the extermination perimeter. They encounter a father with children early on who offers to share food in exchange for protection, as well as intel on fully gassed up vehicles across town in a secure location. Joel and Tommy cautiously agree, but their alliance with the father and his children is short-lived. Just before reaching their destination, the father becomes infected and turns on the others, leaving Joel and Tommy to put him down, but not before some of his children are bitten in the struggle. Joel tries to abandon the children, but Tommy won't hear of leaving the non-infected boy behind, whom, for the sake of the story pitch, we will call Simon. In a heartbreaking scene, Tommy takes Simon away against his will, while Joel remains behind with the two others that were bitten. Two shots can be heard in the backdrop against the boy's cries, as he immediately stops struggling and goes limp in Tommy's arms, collapsing in a devastating fit of anguish. Sometime later, Joel, Tommy, and Simon arrive, somber and emotionally numb, at the garage Simon's father had promised them. They gather nearby supplies and load up an SUV, which, upon turning over the engine, begins playing Nirvana's Something in the Way over the stereo. As Joel goes to turn the radio off, the boy tells him to leave it on as he stares blankly out the window. As the music rises, the game transitions to another time and another place, and the music flows from studio version of Something in the Way to a solo violin version of the same song, as we are introduced to our second playable character, a blonde woman playing the violin in her apartment, who is exactly Ashley Johnson's likeness and physical build. Eagle-eyed players might spot artifacts in her home that identify her as a member of the U.S. Army Nurse Corps, as we are introduced to First Lieutenant Anna Williams. After some personal tragedy experience in Anna's outbreak night, the game flashes forward several weeks for Anna, where we learn that, as an army nurse, she is rapidly recruited by Fedra for their makeshift triage in the Los Angeles QZ. Anna quickly rises as a leader here, where her level-headedness in stressful situations distinguishes her from her peers. Understaffed and with dwindling medical supplies, even Anna's ability to maintain composure is taxed and put to the limit. When Fedra Command wants to demo a nearby hospital, which has become an untenable hotspot for generating infected, Anna and a young Fedra captain named Marlene, along with soldiers loyal to Marlene, disobey orders by heading to the hospital to gather much-needed supplies. This is the first indication of conflict inside Fedra, compounded by a lack of information about what is going on around the country and with the US government. It is during this portion of play, salvaging supplies from from the hospital that Anna and Marlene clash, butt heads, and ultimately bond through their harrowing experience, especially as they encounter some runners with strange growths on them. A brief stage between runner and stalker called sprayers, who projectile vomit bile and spore material as their bodies react to the transformations of the parasite. Marlene and Anna survive a haunting experience together and bring much-needed medical supplies back to the triage, where they are hailed as heroes by the civilians and placed under arrest by Fedra Command. As the cell clangs shut on Anna and Marlene, the game returns to Joel, Tommy, and Simon, who run afoul of special Fedra soldiers near the New Orleans QZ in hazmat suits, who pull them over at gunpoint and offer them the safety of the New Orleans QZ if they will agree to enter a pre-quarantine isolation to ensure they are not infected. Exhausted and nearly out of ammo and food, the Miller brothers are surprised that Fedra isn't shooting them on sight and gratefully accept their offer. It is at this point that the players and the Miller brothers realize that each Fedra QZ is independent of the other and there is no long-range contact, strongly suggesting that the United States government has already collapsed. They soon find that life inside the New Orleans QZ is not what it's cracked up to be, as the Fedra commander seems incompetent, making decisions that cost lives and materials, and corruption reigns, almost breeding on lawlessness. Sensing that control of the QZ is like a weak bridge that will soon give way, Joel's survivor instincts kick in as he identifies an emerging group of disgruntled aggressive types, very similar to the hunters we will later see that defeated Fedra in Pittsburgh, and Joel drags Tommy with him as he seeks to be on the winning side of whomever will control the QZ, no matter the cost. Joel and Tommy undertake a dangerous mission to prove themselves to this group that brings them face to face with slightly different infected unique to the swampy and humid climate of Louisiana, which perhaps evolves the parasite in unique and advanced ways, presenting us with potentially original and frightening second stage infected instead of stalkers. This portion of the game ultimately sees the control of the QZ fall, and Joel fully embraces his role as a hunter type, culminating in a heartbreaking scene where he is ultimately willing to sacrifice Simon in order to save Tommy, showing the player that nothing matters to Joel but survival and keeping his brother safe, no matter the cost. The game transitions back to Anna and Marlene, who are imprisoned martyrs whose fame and popularity continue to grow throughout the Los Angeles QZ, especially as Marlene begins to write and record messages that are smuggled out of her cell, where she encourages others to look for the light when they're lost in the darkness. Her followers, many of whom are uniformed members of Fedra, begin to call themselves the Fireflies, after the symbol often drawn by Marlene in her writings. This portion of the game ends with the defeat of Fedra and the birth of the Fireflies, as the Los Angeles QZ becomes the first quarantine zone to fall under Firefly control. Marlene is issued Firefly Pendant number 1, and Anna Williams is issued Firefly Pendant number 2. This is just the broad strokes of the first half of such a prequel game. There is still 6 more years that must pass for Anna before she finally gives birth to Ellie, and before Tommy leaves Joel to try and heal himself by joining the righteous cause of the Fireflies. And while many things could happen throughout this time span, I always saw the game concluding with Anna's final days after Ellie's birth, ending with her playing Smells Like Teen Spirit on her violin for her newborn daughter, and that song bringing us to the credits. If you enjoyed the unique rendition of All Gone, No Escape used in this video, that is the work of composer Zachary Farmer. So make sure you swing by his channel and show him some love for giving us this powerful and dark rendition of Gustavo's song. And if you're enjoying my content here on YouTube, consider following me on Twitch, where I stream every day and we're always having the fun. And remember that I have other videos that may offer you something you didn't know that you were searching for. Until next time, I'll catch you in the wilderness of the mental.